Canucks fans, if you've been refreshing Twitter, checking contract reports, and wondering what the hell is going on with our pending unrestricted free agents, I feel you, and you're definitely in the right place. You've got comprehensive contract updates on Thatcher Demko, Brock Boeser, Suter, Derek Forbort, as well as updates on Artur Silovs and Kevin Lankinen that will answer every question you've been asking. Let's dive right into it right now. What's up, guys? Welcome to the Line Change. In this particular video, as I mentioned in the intro, we're going to be talking about Thatcher Demko, Brock Boeser, Suter, Derek Forbort. We're going to talk about some contract updates that we got from Canucks news summaries, and specifically from Rick Doldywall, and I believe also David Pagnotta as well did an article about it. But we're going to use Canucks news summaries, who took all the Canucks stuff and basically compiled it together to make it a little bit easier for us. So let's go ahead and get started. And we're going to start off by talking about Thatcher Demko. All right, so Thatcher Demko, we should find out soon if he's on the Canucks trade board. I do know that Frank Saravelli of the Daily Faceoff has Demko on the Daily Faceoff trade board, along with Elias Pettersson. Expects the Canucks and Demko to discuss an extension soon. They're saying if he wants too much term, the Canucks will explore moving Demko. Most think the Canucks want a 3-year term, but that most likely won't be good enough to the Canucks. Demko, of course, made it known at the end of season press conference that he really likes Vancouver. He wants to win here, and he wants to stay here. The Canucks will have a combined internal cap number for both Demko and Kevin Lankinen. When it comes to injury updates for Thatcher Demko, I know we mentioned not necessarily injury updates, more so contract, but there is a injury update for Thatcher Demko. Hearing he has no health issues or setbacks, and that he should have a normal summer of training, which is obviously great to hear. That is great news for Canuck fans, as last year, obviously, he had that popliteus knee injury, and it really affected his summer and delayed his season debut until November. But this season, he's 100% healthy. He's able to train, and he's able to have a normal summer of training, which is music to my ears and is probably music to all Canuck fans' ears. But of course, there is that slight doubt, or maybe not doubt, but there is that slight worry that Demko could injure himself again. But still, him being completely 100% healthy and no setbacks, and that he should have a normal summer of training, is good news to hear. Let's move on to Artur Silovs. They can't predict his future until we know about Demko's future, which is a fair point. People have been talking about lately maybe using Silovs as a trade piece, as the Canucks have Artur Silovs, they have Thatcher Demko, they have Kevin Lankinen, they have Ty Young, they also have Nikita Tolopilo. They also have 2 other goalies whose names are slipping my mind right now, but one of them they signed recently. They have those 2 as well. So the Canucks have a slew of goaltenders. They also have Yuri Patera. So they have a slew of goaltenders, and one of them might have to go. And some people are saying it could potentially. And out of the bunch, not including Demko and Lankinen, out of the younger goaltenders that they have, obviously Archer Silovs likely has the most trade value, and you could probably get the most out of a Silovs trade. But yeah, I'm not too sure about a Silovs trade, at least not right now. Obviously, with how well he's been playing in Abbotsford, and I just can't help but like me some Artie. Moving on to Kevin Lankinen. He's likely the only Canuck that is quote unquote safe because he has a no move clause for the first 2 years of his contract, which is starting, I believe, as of July 1st, if I'm not mistaken. But moving back to Thatcher Demko and talking about his trade value and his contract status, there are going to be teams that take a shot at acquiring him. If he had a healthy year, he'd be in line for a similar contract to Jake Ottinger and Connor Hellebuck. His camp knows they can't ask for too much due to his injury history, which is fair. And it also makes you wonder just how many teams are going to inquire about Thatcher Demko and whether or not teams will be hesitant to inquire about Thatcher Demko because of his injury history. Speaking of Ottinger and Connor Hellebuck, actually, let me actually just quickly bring up their contracts just so I get an idea. So I can't remember off the top of my head what their contracts are. So Ottinger is signed to an 8-year, $66 million contract that he signed on October 17th, 2024. So that extension starts July 1st, I believe. Let's look at Connor Hellebuck real quick. Hellebuck signed a 7-year contract extension with the Winnipeg Jets on October 9th, 2023, which is worth $59.5 million. The extension began this past season. So, yeah, I guess, I would say that's pretty accurate when it comes to what Demko likely would have gotten for an extension if he had a healthy season and had not necessarily repeated his Vezina finalist caliber season of last year, but if he had possibly maybe even won the Vezina, he probably would have gotten something a lot this very similar to both Hellebuck and Jake Ottinger. Let's move back to this. That's all for this one. Let's take a look at the second one, as I have a second one. Let me just pull that up. So moving on to Brock Boeser. They expect him to end up as a UFA, something that I've been saying quite a bit on this channel ever since the trade deadline. I feel as though since the deadline, Boeser essentially made up his mind and made his decision that he wasn't going to come back. thinks the Canucks will take a last run at re-signing him. Some think the Canucks will make a better offer at re-signing him soon. Can see interest in him increasing from the Canucks, but most likely it's too late. Thinks Boeser felt disrespected, didn't negotiate in the summer, and signed Pettersson and O'Connor quickly. And I completely agree with that last one about Boeser feeling disrespected. I do think Patrick Allvin completely disrespected him at the deadline, as well as prior to the deadline when he was asked, about re-signing Boeser, and basically saying on repeat, we're still evaluating him. We're still evaluating him. We're still evaluating him when he's the longest tenured Canuck. I just think that is completely stupid of Patrick Allvin to say. And I feel as though Allvin saying that was Allvin's way of saying, we don't believe in him. We don't think he's good enough. We don't think he's as good as he thinks he is. Moving on to costs for top six forwards. Obviously, they're very expensive right now. Moving on to Suter, who no one's really heard anything about. So, and as it says there, nothing's going on for Suter when it comes to the Canucks and Suter. There's been no talks. Canucks will have to go to an uncomfortable number to re-sign him. Hearing his cap hit will be a 4 or 4.5. The Flyers are apparently looking for a center. Could be a potential destination for Suter. Have him reunite with Rick Tocchet. As everyone knows how high Rick Tocchet was of Suter towards the end of the season. Moving on to Derek Forbort. Teams will be calling for his services. If the Canucks hire Kevin Dean as an assistant coach, it might sway Forbort into staying. Personally, I would like to see them re-sign Forbort, as I thought he was very good this past season. And also, I'd be lying if I didn't want there to be some retribution for Forbort after having that broken orbital bone, and especially when the Canucks face Minnesota for the first time in the season, I'm hoping for some good old revenge and karma. When it comes to Noah Juulsen, it's been very quiet on Juulsen. I'm under the impression that Juulsen won't be back next year, which I'm fine with, as I was never really a big fan of Juulsen to begin with. Taking a look at the trade market, too many teams are looking for second-line centers. That is 100% true. And the Canucks have loved Jesperi Kotkaniemi, or rather, the Canucks loved Jesperi Kotkaniemi in his draft year. That's good to know, because I'm pretty certain Canucks fans don't want Jesperi Kotkaniemi. I know his name's been brought up in trade talks when it comes to Carolina and him being a potential target. I am completely against Kotkaniemi, as I just don't think he's really I don't think he's really that good. And he's kind of fizzled out, considering how high he was drafted. He hasn't. He's basically Carolina's version of our of PD. Essentially, he hasn't lived up to his potential, is what I'm trying to get at. But yeah, so that is the updates. That is our Vancouver Canucks updates for this video. Let me know in the comment section down below what you guys think about these updates, about these specifically these updates on contracts when it comes to Boeser, Suter, that talks about Demko and his contract. with him being a UFA next season. Let me know what you guys think about Derek Forbort. What do you guys think about Suter? There being nothing between the Canucks and Suter, up until this point. I just think that is absolutely insane and crazy that the Canucks have not even sat down and discussed a contract with Pius Suter. So I will reiterate once again, I think Suter's on his way out, just like Brock Boeser is. And that's a real shame because Pius Suter is a great player. He can play the wing, he can play center, he can kill penalties. He really showed just what he's capable of when Elias Pettersson went down with that injury at the end of the season, and he really stepped up big time for the Canucks, essentially becoming their first line center. And yeah, it's just going to suck to lose a Swiss Army knife like Pius Suter. And on top of that, just letting him walk for nothing. I just completely disagree with that. And I don't think that is a smart move on this front office and this management group. I think it, makes him look a little dumb, but that is just my opinion. So as I mentioned, that's going to do it for this video. As always, be sure to like this video. Also, if you want to stay up to date on all your Vancouver Canucks as well as your Abbotsford Canucks content, be sure to smash that subscribe button. Also, turn on your notifications. That way you are notified every time we upload a new video. Find us on social media. You can find us on Facebook. Just search The Line Change and you can find our Facebook page. You can find us on Instagram at The Line Change. You can find us on X at Line Change Van. You can also find us on TikTok at the.line.change.po. Feel free to give us a follow on all of our social media platforms. And if you prefer an audio version of this podcast, you can find us on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. On Spotify, once again, feel free to give us a follow as well as rate and review us. It is greatly appreciated. So that's going to do it for me in this video. As always, go Canucks, go Abby, and I'll see you guys in the next video.